Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am the Omni viewer, and this is a very quick kaiju figure review. It's quick and a bit simpler than others because I'm doing a variant here. It's technically a figure that I've looked at twice by now, but the latest variation I think is worth discussing, especially in comparison to the versions which preceded it. I am of course speaking of the third NECA 2019 Godzilla, aka Burning Godzilla, aka Fire Godzilla, aka Godzilla version 3, aka the red one. Now in the past I looked at the standard version and I looked at the second variation which has the blue detailing and heat ray. And compared to the 2014 figure, they both had some pretty significant flaws. The biggest issue with the first version is the paint, particularly the wonky looking eyes. And the issue with the second version was the locked knees. He ships with his legs straight and I cannot get them to bend. I know people have suggested that I try using a blow dryer to heat them up and loosen them. I tried that. I determined that the paint was going to melt off of the figure before those joints got even loose enough to start fidgeting with. So, knee-locked he remains. And there was the issue of how with both figures, their legs didn't fit seamlessly into the hip joints, leaving a very sharp and noticeable gap. Though to version 2's credit, the paint job was better than on version 1. Well folks, I'm pleased to report that version 3 is the best of the bunch, just overall. First of all, as you can see when we line them up together, the hip joint on version 3, the red one, is great. It fits in seamlessly, you don't really notice the gap, his feet are pretty much level, there's no issue here. This is exactly the way they should have been from the start, and I'm kinda surprised that it took them this long to get it. Another issue I had with the previous figures was how the torso joint kind of left a wide gap with the dorsal plates, which was definitely noticeable, far more so than on the 2014 figure. You kind of need to have space there for him to turn, but I thought it was unfortunate that they couldn't find a way to close it a little. Well, on this figure they did. You can still sort of tell there's a gap, but it's far less noticeable than on the other figures. As you can see while we're going around, the detail and paint is fine. It's the exact same sculpt as the other two figures, so nothing new in terms of texture details here. It mostly comes down to the color. The figure is cast in this red material. It's not painted, it is actually this color red. Meanwhile, the spines, eyes, tongue, and a few details on the back are painted orange. This pretty much lines up with the way you see him in the movie. However, there is an extra little bit of goodness for this figure. The red material of which the figure is made is translucent. So if you backlight it, as you can see here, you can actually get a really cool effect that makes it look like he's glowing. And yes, it goes all the way from his head to his tail. Even the painted spines still allow for a little bit of light to pass through. It also provides a bit of an X-ray effect so you can see how these figures go together. If you've ever been curious about that, now's your chance to get a look inside. Beyond those particular details, this really is the exact same figure as the other two. Same articulation, same design, same sculpt, you know the whole drill. It's just that for some reason, they managed to fix all of the issues with the previous two figures. And I have no clue if that means they're gonna go back and redo those figures for future releases. But again, I'm surprised it took them this long, especially since when they did the 2014 figure, they knocked it out of the park on the first try. So of the 2019 Legendary Gojis NECA has released so far, Version 3, aka Burning or Fire Godzilla, whichever you choose to go by, is the best of the bunch. All of the issues I've had with previous figures have basically been corrected, and he's sure to stand out on any collector's shelf. So if you've been curious about how this figure turned out, especially compared to how the last two turned out, there you have it. It's definitely the strongest entry. Now naturally it's not the best Godzilla figure NECA has produced, but it's definitely the brightest. And beyond that, there's not much else I can say that's new. Refer back to my previous videos on the other figures if you want to know more details about articulation and whatnot. And that wraps it up for this one. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it as well as subscribe to the channel for more content of a similar nature. Also, check the description for links to our Twitter, DeviantArt, and Patreon pages, as well as the Amazon link for the novel Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, penned by yours truly. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.